the Canadian Prime Minister and the Mexican President in Mexico City to sign NASJA, the North American Joint Security...
What game really got you interested in a game company? I'm not talking about the first game you played by said company. I mean the game that assured you of this publisher or developer team's status as your favorite in the industry. For me, it's Ubisoft. I buy almost every big game that they release now, and I owe this game my gratitude for it. This is Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter for the Xbox 360. Now, I reviewed Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2 not too long ago, but the first game in the sub-series has a few key points that really make it stand out from its sequel. Some are good, and some aren't so good. But let's start out with the positive stuff. The story in Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter is extremely well written. Like other Ubisoft games, it isn't going to make your jaw drop, but it does really help the player immerse themselves into the experience. I'll give you the shorthand, and keep in mind that this is much more complicated. The 3 North American countries have established the North American Joint Security Agreement, a new deal that will allow these nations to freely lend troops and vehicles between countries. However, a coup has taken place in Mexico that has already led to the death of the Canadian Prime Minister, and it's up to Scott Mitchell and the Ghost Recon team to put a stop to it. It doesn't sound out of the realm of possibility, does it? Now, because of this fear that's developing in Mexico, many of the streets you encounter throughout the early levels are going to be almost completely barren, and this really helps to add a good creep factor to the game. There's nothing more awesome than rounding a corner and finding a couple of rebels that are just as surprised to see you as you are to see them. Gameplay in Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter is a little bit clunkier than its sequel, but not by very much. The animations are still brilliant, and weapons are still a blast, pun completely intended. It's also slightly easier to order drones and vehicles in this game. I can't really explain why, so there isn't really any difference in the controller layout, but it just feels a little bit simpler. Visually, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter looks pretty much identical to its sequel, and this is to be expected. Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2 was only released in 2007, barely a year after this one, so you really can't blame Ubisoft for sticking with the same visuals.
Destroy! Reloading now. Firing!
Audio is also really nice in Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, with a nice soundtrack and awesome radio noises, and like I've said before, it has explosions. Now, if there's one thing that is obviously wrong with this game, it's the allied AI. While it isn't always bad, it can be pretty inconsistent. Just in the time I spent recording this game, I saw one of my fellow ghosts run into enemy fire for no reason and do a lap. Well, he tried to do a lap, but he got shot in the face because he ran into enemy fire for no reason. Enemy AI is actually a little bit better though. They tend to hide in cover until you start moving. Then they pop out and you shoot them in the face. Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter was awarded numerous Game of the Year awards in 2006, and it's easy to see why. While this game does have a few little flaws, this was the beginning of a major revamp to a franchise that really deserved it. If you already have the sequel, this isn't a must-buy, but it's still worth checking out.